New data just came out this week that puts Orlando in the top of the country for a particular stat. And I have to tell you that if you are someone who has been on your knees hoping and praying that affordability has finally come to the Orlando market, you're going to want to watch this update. Secondly, we saw some breaking news this week that has shown some significant change to this massive glut of the inventory of new construction homes. The signs are shifting in that particular market. You're going to catch that update, but we're going to talk about a couple of historic announcements this week that will impact the value of your home if you live in Florida, some major expansion changes that are coming in different major markets around Florida that you're going to want to know about. And additionally, we're going to cover a brief expansion from one of our major theme parks that also was announced this week. All of that plus the weekend review for the data. We're going to talk about what is going on with buyers. Are they out this summer? Are they still engaged? How's the Orlando market? Is it spiraling, or is buyers absorbing the inventory and bringing those numbers back down, tightening the market? We're going to go through all of that. If you appreciate the research and time it takes to bring this week after week, drop down below, smash the thumbs up, but let's get into the update. All right, my friends, leading story, Orlando leads the nation in job growth, outpacing other major U.S. regions. Now, this is important. I kind of led open with this because folks are really by design, you know, there's many folks in my comments on an ongoing basis worried about the high cost of real estate, wanting them to crash 20% at least and all this kind of stuff. Look at this. You have to take this in connection with the rest of the recent updates from 2024's info, because we have enough statistical narrative right now on how Orlando's doing. So if this is a home for you, you have to understand we know a lot about what is driving our growth. I'm going to show you a few of those key things right now. Now look at this. Our growth reached 2.5% on employment. So we had employment increase by 2.5%. In 2024, this was the fastest among populous U.S. regions. 37,500 jobs was actually the official number. This was significantly more than projected. Healthcare and tourism were key growth. Now, take it as a one-off story. That's interesting on its own. But I showed you a story that came out in Orlando on more data from the U.S. Census Bureau from last year, same exact year of the reporting here that we saw in jobs. Orlando becomes the fastest growing large region. Here's how much it's grown. The data shows last year we were the 20th most populous region, but that's not the headline. We had a growth from July 1st, 2023 to mid-year last year, which is the most recent news we have. The growth in our marketplace was 1,500 new residents each week, bringing us to 2.9 million. We were the fastest growing large region. Now, if you watch my channel a lot, you already know exactly how this shakes down. You know, I covered this, you may remember, but look down here. We are on the list just ahead of a couple of different Texas markets, and it goes on to other southern markets like in North Carolina and, you know, throughout Florida. There are other ranking Florida markets. But the article here goes on to poll the audience and say, hey, what are your concerns? Look at the data. It said the highest concern for people knowing that Orlando is growing really fast is traffic. And the second wasn't even the house prices. It was actually cost of living, which can go to house prices. But housing itself was the third rank, and it was specifically on the list as well. Jobs, obviously, 3%. Is that interesting? So jobs is the lowest concern of everybody in the Orlando market in relation to the population growth, which rings true because if you're going to try and find a job, there's a high opportunity. Now, I want to point out one other thing that I've been saying. A huge driver of our growth is international migration. Okay, very, very common. We are having buyers of all price categories making offers on houses from other countries. Hey, I'm interrupting myself to ask you, are you thinking of buying or selling a home? Make one call, that's all, and put my 23 years of experience and nearly 4,000 sold homes to work for you.
Jared Jones is the way to go. Call 706-5000.
So it's a regular process that we're seeing of the migration is coming from South America, Canadians, all this. Again, I know what the reports are saying. You know, they're trying to say there's fewer people moving into the state or there's all this exodus. Well, that's not what statistics show. Statistics show that we're still in the top 4 states in the union for people in net migration. For the remainder of the people that, yes, there are people that leave every year, but based on the amount of people that are coming in, we're still at the top of the pile for net migration. But look at this. The other concern that we all are paying attention to is the buyer stalling out. are buyers iced out of the market and bailing? Because if that happens, unsold inventory can climb, and that's a concern for sellers getting their price. But look at this. April's new home purchase application increased 5.3%. And this is a fascinating statistic because if you've been paying attention to YouTube channels and data points over the past two months, specifically, the amount of inventory that builders had completed. And remember, builder is a motivated seller. When they have a house that is ready to go, no one on Pulte's team, Lennar's team, D.R. Horton's, none of the builders are going to let anyone live in that house and that owns it. They have no interest in doing anything other than building it and selling it. And that is a motivated seller. That's where you start to see incentives. People call me all the time, like, are builders generally just giving all this money away? No, not at the beginning of the subdivision. Not until they actually get towards the process of standing inventory, or it's almost ready and the buyer they had on it fell out. Those are where the bigger opportunities lie. But look what took place, because we were starting to rack up data saying that there's a concerning amount of high inventory, like a decade high amount of new construction. Look at this. Despite ongoing economic uncertainty, this is the Mortgage Bankers Association writing this, and mortgage rate volatility, April was a strong month for new home purchase activity, with applications posting an annual gain for the second straight month. And the application index reached its highest level in survey history dating back to 2012. So much so that the seasonally adjusted amount of sell-off that we're going to project in April, meaning the backlog of homes that were there that ended up getting picked up by buyers, was 718,000 annual pace. Okay. Now, if you're curious, a month earlier, it was 629,000. So essentially that change from March to April ended up being the strongest pace buyers absorbing new construction since October of 2024. Okay, so that's interesting. So before the election, there hasn't been a pace of which buyers are going out there and applying to buy new construction and ultimately selling them. So what are we seeing, and what is the data saying? It's saying that new home purchase applications are finally up. And the data that I'm showing you right here, I'm also going to show you in a second on the resale side. So how are the buyers doing for the existing home inventory market? Are they bailing? And we have to watch the data for when they're applying, because the application data tells us if buyers are bailing. The interest rates are too high, they're not even going to apply. But are they engaging? Because this is a good leading indicator. Leading indicator is that if you go and apply, there's a higher chance, and those applications increase, we're going to see pendings rise in the future. We're going to see the amount of homes going under contract increasing. So take a look at this. This is the resale market. The refinance index decreased a small amount, but was still 44% higher than a year ago. So refinances percentage on the index is up 44%. I'm going to show you the interest rates in a second. Like, why in the world is that happening? But also the news this week for applications is up 2.3% from a week ago and up 18%. So refinances are down 0.5% from last week. Purchases are up 2.3%, but purchase activity is almost up 20% against 2024. So more people are now going into the process of applying. Now listen to this. 40% of applications are government loans, government backed. So this is FHA and VA, government guaranteed loans, one way or the other. Okay. Now, why is the activity the way it is? Well, this, my friends, is the 30-year fixed chart. And you can see this is 7.2% right here. And all this year, since the beginning of the year, the rate has been floating largely between 6.7, 6.8, and as low as 6.6. Okay. So it really, for the last couple of weeks, has been just 6.8, 6.7, but it's not way, way lower than a year ago. Okay. So that's all we need to know about that. But additionally, you're starting to see people refinancing out of stuff they had a year ago. So there's a high number of refinance activity. Now that to me is fascinating, but let's look at what Redfin is saying about the housing market, because I think it's kind of cool. If we're going to talk about Orlando, let's see what's going on in the rest of Florida. Let's see which areas of the country are really killing it in price, which ones are suffering, which ones have a huge amount of inventory coming. Let's see what the rest of the story is, because this is released in the last 24 hours. Look at the title, by the way, which is interesting. I'm going to prove this title out to you. We're going to talk about this. Redfin reports economic jitters, high cost stifling spring home sales. They're saying high cost stifling spring home sales, saying It's suffering, right? And the leading headline for that is they say, well, home sales are down 3.4% for a month, basically. So saying our national numbers are off 3.4. They're saying basically buyers backed away and they're down a little bit over last year. Okay, let's see where we're going with that. Now, you're going to see at the top that right here, year over year, they report what I just told you, Mortgage Bankers Association, saying mortgage applications are up 18%. List your home for just 3%. You heard me right. I'm Jared Jones, top selling agent, local Winter Garden resident, and I list your home for just 3% so that you can keep more of your hard-earned equity. Make one call, that's all. Call Jared Jones today, list your home for 3%, and start packing.
Jared Jones is the way to go. Call 706-5000.
Also, touring activity was up 32% from the start of 2024. At this time last year, it was up 32%. Right now, we're up 41% as of May 12. Okay, so there's a lot more people touring versus earlier this year, and there's a lot more now than there was last year. So the same exact measurement from now till early part of the start of the year, January, February months, more people are out there looking at houses, and there should be. All right, it's the move-up market, but there's more people in relation to a year ago. Kind of a weird stat, but it's interesting. Now, Redfin measures 400 metros. The data that I'm going to show you right here are top large city population centers that they're watching, okay? Median sale price up 1.8%, okay? Fascinating. Last year, I think this was probably running at 3.8. They're not really actually saying what it was last year, but I would say it's probably down a little bit in terms of how fast it's growing. So it's not down, but it's just not as growing as fast as it was. Now, this is a fascinating gap. Look at this. So houses are trading at roughly 1.8 higher than last year. Sellers are asking almost 7% higher than last year, which is wild to me. This, by the way, causes pendings to drop. So when buyers notice that, okay, houses are really only trading about 1.8%, it's kind of stable market, but sellers are going well over that, buyers are going to stand you off. And that's going to result in lower pendings. Nationally, new listings across the board are up 5.1%. So nationally, there's not a huge number. I think there was a lot more news talked about January, February, and March, where there's a lot of storied claim going on. Like, hey, unsold homes across the country are really going up. And a lot of sellers are bringing homes on. January was like a huge amount of inventory in Florida and the rest of the country. January, for whatever reason, sellers activated and put a lot of inventory out there. So obviously we're seeing the pace that home sellers are bringing homes to the market stabilizing. That's something we're going to say about going in the middle of the year. Less people are going, all right, let's dump my house out there. Now, by the way, earlier this year, you'll remember I was reporting to you that as a result of all this supply hitting, the number across the country was like 38% year over year. So we're talking in the last 45 days, the national numbers, the unsold inventory was well up 40%, 38% over a year ago because of the amount of supply hitting without buyers absorbing. But look where it's at now. It's now kind of right-sided a bit. So it's 14.3%, smallest increase. So we have the smallest increase nationally in over here. Florida's obviously higher than that. Okay. By the way, I did an update on Orlando and the state of Florida last week, where I pulled the most recent data out of the system for the month ending April. So the most recent data you can find on Florida and Orlando, covered it and walked through them both, kind of made some comparisons back and forth how Orlando looks in relation to that. So if you missed that, go check it out. Look at this. This is the winners and losers across the country. First of all, price. Whose prices are crushing? Northeast, Newark, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Detroit, Pittsburgh, all double digits. Crazy. Miami's still up at 9.2 for this report. I guarantee you that's probably not going to hold for very long. But let's take a look at this. Metros with the biggest year over year decreases. Okay. Prices are dropping. Okay. Look at the gap. California and Oakland is out there at 4.3 down. Dallas 2.6. Austin's down 2.5. Phoenix down 2.3. And Tampa at 1.8. By the way, these are the metros they watch. I have a feeling if I pull Zillow's data for the areas south of Tampa on the Gulf, from Punta Gorda, Cape Coral, the rest, they're going to be a good bit higher than this. Okay. Pending sales. Are the buyers backing away or are pushing in? Again, we're talking Virginia, Detroit, Warren, Michigan, Indianapolis, San Francisco. Our buyers are leaning in. They're pending homes. Fascinating. Look at this. Miami pendings are down 19%. Fort Lauderdale, they're down. West Palm Beach, they're down 13%. So you have a few Florida markets. Vegas is down 13% on pendings. That is fascinating. So Vegas is undergoing a change. I just saw the Review Journal posted something out of their market saying it's shifting again. It's just because it's hot 1 month. It's hot for 6 months. It's cold for 7 months. It's hot again for 6. So it is a vacillating market. So Vegas has seen a few shifts since 2022. So wild. And you're going to see them. Look at this. So while their pendings are down, there's a correlating nail in the coffin, which is not good for your market. You don't want to see yourself on these two continuums. Like, oh, my listings are high. So the amount of people dropping homes in the market are up, but buyers are backing away. So as buyers are stopping and pulling back, people are pushing more inventory out there. So, by the way, DC is at the top of the list, my friends, for amount of new listings. Can you drop in the comments and tell me why you think Washington, DC is at the top of the list for new listings? I just think there will be a lot of interesting commentary on that. Baltimore's 13%. Las Vegas, again, I mentioned, is up 12. Dallas, 12% more listings. Houston, 11.5% more listings. San Jose, down. Oh, this is where it's tightening, by the way. Orlando's contracting, 7.1%. Fascinating that we have the most recent week of data. Wait till you see how many unsold homes we have for this week, because I'm about to show you that for Orlando. Because I pull you every week, I show you exactly on the day I do this report, I pull the data and show it to you. West Palm, 6.3 down. New listings are down in Fort Lauderdale. New listings are down in Tampa. So you have look at this. So you have pendings dropping in some of these Florida markets, and then new listings are also bailing off. So there's these weird, it's a constant balance. Like people, you can't take one single metric and look at it in a vacuum, because like right here, pendings are falling, but then new listings are going to abate, so, as buyers absorb what's there, you're going to see things kind of balance out in these markets. So there's multiple things kind of going on at once. Take a look at this. This is the most recent week of data. By the way, I go through all this stuff down here that you see. April, this is the most recent month. I'm going to zoom back in to this top because this is the most recent week that I pulled for Orlando. And I'm going to show you, this is a running number all the way back to early April. You can see actives in Orlando. By the way, I just showed you a chart that said new listings are abating. So the most recent week in Redfin, listings are taking a breather. So most likely Orlando put inventory out over the past 2 or 3 weeks. Sellers are done. Sellers are backing off, and now the number is anemic. But look at what the active unsold supply right now is high because of that. So now this week you're going to have probably this come down a little bit because there's less listings in the market. But look at this, 4,600 units. This is the highest number for $0 to $500,000 price range, 500,000 to infinity, 4,800 units. Highest number in 6 weeks running. The total, 9,400 units. This is not really, really high, but it's a little bit elevated. Sold 30 days, 2,459. So that's back up, okay? Pendings are right around 3,500 units, where it's been approximately for the past 6 weeks. Months of supply, very steady. We have the unit count for vacant listings, 4,627, highest for the 6-month run. And vacant listings are up a little bit. 30-day fail rate is at 941 for this most recent week, which represents 9.9%. Now let's jump into the key growth headlines that are going to affect your home's value, starting with this one. AdventHealth launches the largest expansion in its history. Check this out. Central Florida is growing fast, and Orlando's AdventHealth is growing with it. The hospital system announced a $660 million patient and surgical tower in its Orlando campus downtown. Long-term plan investment, $1 billion. What's coming? 14-story tower, 24 operating rooms, endoscopy, imaging, on and on and on. This tower will be located south of King Street. The feature I want you to understand here is how big of a growth factor this is. We already know that healthcare is a huge, huge player in our employment. We have an aging population. We have a retiree population. When people are moving here, they're always kind of curious, like, hey, where's the best place to live if I want to be near the best healthcare options? Downtown is number one. And again, not that you necessarily going to live there, but you will have, if a person in that kind of category of criteria, they want to be commutable to that area. But second to that's Lake Nona, right? So you have the VA center, you have research facilities there, and all of that. So this is opening up some more opportunities for downtown Orlando, more construction, the whole bit. The next story, Lake Nona West unveils their tenant lineup for the shopping center opening 2026. This is day old news, folks. We already had an anchor tenant announced for this previously, Target, okay? But what else is added? Nordstrom Rack, Total Wine and More, Barnes & Noble. I didn't even know Barnes & Noble is still around. It's so good to know you can still walk into a bookstore. Am I right? HomeSense and 𝐞𝐚𝐿 as tenants. 𝐞𝐚𝐿, hopefully I said that right. Correct me in the comments. This is a Mexican restaurant that's actually, I think, housed in Las Vegas. This is going to be, I believe it's in the Venetian. Popular. Supposedly it's got a good following. A lot of reviews on the Googles. So hopefully that will do well. But Tavistock is working on leases with all of these companies, and that's what's coming. By the way, a couple weeks back, if you're curious on the top growth news, there's 9 or 10 more projects than I just talked about here, announced and happening there. You're going to want to catch that. I dropped that about 2 weeks ago on this channel if you're considering. By the way, people are mocking this Lake Nona West. They're like, what is Lake Nona that people get so excited that a Target is opening? I don't know, man. My wife gets pretty excited about Target, so I'll just leave that out there. Gen Z Country Club. We need a Gen Z Country Club in Orlando, don't we? Society Park is going to bring sports and luxury to the former Wyndham site. This is in the downtown area near I-Drive. Okay, so this is Society Park, a sports entertainment complex signed a lease with Chuck Whittall's Orlando-based Unicorp National Developments and the New York-based Flagship Luxury Group, and they're working on a date for groundbreaking. So the lease is signed. This is the same group that did the Icon Park in Orlando. Okay, so if you know the Orlando Eye and all the shops there, now listen to this. They're going to have an amazing amenity lineup, okay? So there's going to be a blend of sports, dining, shopping, entertainment, paddleball courts, exhibition areas, all this kind of stuff. But look at this. It's going to develop its complex on 2.4 acres, a fraction of the overall 42-acre site, undergoing large-scale transformation. Now, they're saying the development would be very dense, a description that matches what we now know about the site. Now, listen to this. In addition to Society Park, an Intercontinental Hotel will be one component of Unicorp's mixed-use development of the property on I-Drive. Now, further sources of knowledge of the deal said a Kimpton Resorts and Hotel Outpost, another IHG luxury brand we built on site. Also, 2 restaurants are slated there. So besides the pro shop, spa, all that stuff, the actual country club area that we're talking about is almost about 2.5 acres, 92,531 square feet. 2 restaurants are coming. One is going to be around 12,000 square feet. One at 6,000 square feet. The 12,000 square foot location restaurant will have an 8,000 foot bottom floor restaurant with a 4,000 square foot rooftop mezzanine. They are saying they do not want to bring franchise restaurants to this location. They want it luxury. They want to enhance I-Drive's food scene. So hoorah for that. And as more updates get announced, I will be bringing it to you. If you're in the Central Florida area and you're looking for a great church, I'd love for you to join me at the Grove Bible Chapel. Just visit joinmeatthegrove.com for full details. When you're buying or selling a home, the process itself can feel overwhelming. When this happens, you need a real estate expert that can turn this around for you. So all you need to do, make one call, that's all, and put nearly 4,000 homes sold and my 23 years of experience to work for you.
Jared Jones is the way to go. Call 70650.